Listen, listen, listen. I'm gonna play some music as I get more people to come in. Music as I get more people to come in. Y'all, we're gonna go over what we know right now in regards to the Diddy trial. And while I got some of you all are coming in, y'all need to head over to YouTube because I know that I have people over here that is watching me from Twitter, and I have people watching me from Twitch. If you're watching me from YouTube, go to my post page. There is a survey asking if you want me to do daily updates or weekly updates. It's at a tie. Will y'all break that tie for me so I would know what I need to be doing? So I figured today, while I had some time today, I definitely was going to go over, try to go over as it's going on, minute to minute, ticker to ticker. So again, as you all are coming in, y'all hit that like button, hit that heart button, and the folks over there at Twitch, whatever it is you do, hit that button too. Okay. So let me just put a little music on and see what's going on. Yeah, we're gonna go over some of the stuff that I have, and my understanding right at this point right now, y'all, the defense is doing their opening statement, but we are gonna go over the opening statements from the prosecution. Now, I will tell you now, if you've been following me and you've been following me with all these celebrity legal issues, you all will know that we went over the Cassie lawsuit. Now, for some of the stuff that I see in here is coming from there, but y'all, they've got other people that they're talking about as well, and we're going to go over that. I want to shout out Inner City Press. They're in the courtroom and they're giving us live tweets about what's going on. So shout out to them. Also, shout out to the New York Times. They're giving us live updates as well. So I will be bouncing between those two entities to give you all this information. Yeah. Mm. When I tell you that this is a mess, this is a mess. So let's show this thread, and y'all can walk with me on this thread as well, because y'all, it is a mess. It is a mess. Let me share my screen. All right. Hope that y'all can't even see me. All right. So here's who we're talking about, Inner City Press. And I'm going to be going over their particular tweets and kind of go over what's going on. So this morning, I will let you all know that because Friday they were supposed to have the jury completed, but there was some issues that the defense had brought up that they needed to discuss with the judge. So they had a little hearing in regards to that. So, and they were going to pick up today with the jury selection. They did that. They have seated the 12 jurors plus the 6 alternates. That win is as smooth as it can go. Let me look at that really quick. Give me a moment, child. So what we have now, I'm going to be reading that because I'm going to be on my phone, reading off my phone and reading off of here as well. So our jurors are juror number 2, juror number 5, juror number 25, juror number 28, juror 55, juror 58, 75, 116, 160, 184, 201, 217, 230, 234, 247, 292, 321, and 330. Now, I don't have a breakdown of the jury via male or female. We can look and see if the New York Times has done that real quick. But surely, when I do my recap, I definitely will have that for you, the breakdown of the jury. But the jury is seated. So, why is that important? because they started opening statements. And so the prosecution came through and did their opening statements. And let's go over on that. So uh so for the Southern District of New York, you have Attorney Johnson. This is Sean Combs. To the public, he was a cultural icon, a businessman, larger than life, but there was another side to him. You will hear about 20 years. They're talking about 20 years of Diddy and his predilections, of his crimes. He had a team to help him to for kidnapping. They talk about arson, they talk about drugs, and they talk about X crimes. The I don't know, do you call them ADA? US attorney? I don't know what their little acronym is, but Attorney Johnson says, let's start with one night. He was on a hunt for his girlfriend, Cassie. He forced her to have X with male escorts while he watched and recorded it. He found Cassie that was seeing another man. Furious, he set out to find Cassie and the other man. He woke an employee to drive to the house. No one was there. He didn't give up. He kept looking for her. And when he found her, he beat, kicked, uh, flung her around like a rag doll, but that wasn't enough. He told Cassie that he would release the video of her having X with a male escort. He broke into a man's house. He beat and blackmailed his girlfriend. These are not his only crimes. Cassie is not the only person that he has done this to. Uh, they go on to say he had a business with Bad Boy Records. He relied on his bodyguards, his chef, his chiefs of staff, who ran all aspects of his life. The group promoted his power. His bodyguards kidnapped an employee and set a car on fire and dangled a person. Who did they dangle, y'all? They delivered drugs where he said they needed to drug it, uh, including to a woman he allegedly forced to have X with an escort. He transported them across state lines, and this is that trafficking. Because it is illegal because first of all, to engage in the prostitute outside of the state of Nevada is illegal, and then it is a federal crime if you transport them across lines for the purpose of sex and paid sex. And I think that that's partly what they got R. Kelly on, because he was transporting the underage girls from one place to another. Now, I do understand there was some grown folks over there with R. Kelly. I do understand that. But mostly it was these underage girls that they were talking about. But anyway, we're back at Diddy. He was coercive, even used violence. They talked about what they called them. Now, this trial, they're going to focus on two women, Cassie and Jane. I wonder where the third lady is. They really couldn't find her. So they're starting off without her. They couldn't find her. Let's see. They'll show the defendant use lies, drugs, threats of violence to force them to have sex with them in front of male escorts. He would call them freak offs, wild king nights, or hotel nights. Now, see, that puts a whole nother spin, because now I'm thinking, let me go back into these other interviews where you've seen him acting a little not peckish. What do you call that? And it's not even freaky. He was being real he's saying stuff without even saying any stuff. And I wonder, and I don't know why this wild king, let's party king. I think I remember him saying something like that. Wild king nights or hotel nights. His staff organized the flights, cars, and the hotels. At his direction, his staff set up the room with the lubricant and the lighting. This man had a full, they're saying that he had a full production, y'all. Staff came in with cash to pay the escorts and to pay for the drugs. They said that he provided, this is again, they provided the MDMA or Molly, ecstasy. It made them sick, but also aroused. He directed every step. He expected the women to appear to enjoy themselves. He self pleasured himself and recorded all the events. Uh, they talk about Cassie being 19 with the hit song. They said that she tried to work on her music, but he was in control of her music career and final sale of the music, because apparently he had her in a 10-album deal. And from what I've heard from pundits, that's unprecedented. Usually they'll get you into a 3 to 5 album deal, but to get you into a 10-album deal, and that's making the prediction that your album was going to that you're going to be profiting to make that kind of money. To put somebody at 19 in a 10-album deal, that's just basically, if they didn't do it, if they were not successful in their first and their second or possibly their third album, he can drop them, but then they couldn't make any more albums. Let's see. So she recorded an album. There was never another album. The prosecution goes over how he physically abused Cassie. They honed in on that big fight in the SUV that the bodyguard tried to step in on, where he stomped her face, and she had to stay in a hotel for a week until all the injuries had healed. And there is a picture where where they're walking, because the next week or something like that, there was some kind of show, and she was in this dress. But you look at her legs and everything are bruised up. But her makeup artist said that they had to cover all those bruises. So her makeup artist had to do some serious work to keep you from seeing that she had any of those bruises on her face. They say, as you see in the trial, he beat her in the hallway of a hotel. So they're going to show that picture. Now, remember, there was this back and forth and back and forth. It was initially put out that CNN had acquired a copy of the tape, and then they edited it, and then they said that they had destroyed the original version, and then CNN said, no, we didn't destroy anything. We edited it so that things, because I guess the original footage is of a long period of time, and they edited it to cut just to the juicy parts, I would say, in regards to what we were seeing. But they were saying that they didn't edit anything. They didn't edit anything out. They didn't remove anything out. They just chopped and spliced it. They said that they still had the original version out. I didn't go back to check to see if the prosecution has the original version or not, but I'm quite sure that they do. They're saying that he had a pattern of abuse. If he thought she took too long in the bathroom, he would beat her. If she defied him in any way, he would beat her. She would flee, but his circle of friends would go. His employees would go back and get her, because we did see in Cassie's lawsuit where she did mention that she had gone to Florida. Was it did she go to Florida? Let me pull her lawsuit up. That she went to Florida one time, and Diddy sent an executive from to go and to retrieve her. We'll look that up real quick. Give me one moment. I'm just typing in some keywords. All right, here. So we do have that in here. Let me see if I can share this part of my screen. All right. So I want to get here now. Here on this section right here, this is what they were mentioning in the trial, that in the car leaving the club, and this is coming from her lawsuit that was filed back on 11/16/23. It says, in the car leaving the club, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura, pushing her into a corner of the vehicle and stomping on her face. Mr. Combs' security staff, Roger Bonds, tried to stop the beating but was unable to de-escalate the situation. When the car arrived at Mr. Combs' residence, Miss Ventura attempted to run away, but Mr. Combs followed her and proceeded to kick her in the face. Miss Ventura was bleeding profusely and was ushered into Mr. Combs' home, where she began to throw up from the violent assault. Upon recognizing the damage he had done and the physical evidence of his abuse, he panicked and forced his staff to bring Miss Victoria to a hotel suite at the London Hotel in Los Angeles, where she was required to stay for a week. So she wasn't allowed to leave. She was required to stay for a week. Mm-mm. During this stay, as her injuries from the beating healed, let me get to single page continuous. During her stay, as the injuries from the beating healed, she began to fully realize that Mr. Combs' tremendously loyal network not only knew about and witnessed his assault, but also that these witnesses were not willing to do anything meaningful to stop Mr. Combs' behavior. She recognized that she was powerless and that reporting Mr. Combs to the authorities would not alter Mr. Combs' status or influence, but would merely give Mr. Combs another excuse to hurt her. While she was in the hotel that she was quote unquote required to be in, she asked to go home to her parents, but Mr. Combs would not let her leave. She lied to her mother when asked about an online gossip forum that reported the assault. Mr. Combs proceeded to instruct his assistant to purchase excessive amount of gifts for Miss Ventura, which were delivered to the hotel room where she remained trapped. All right, so let's get back. So they're going over that. Let's continue what's going on here. And while I'm doing these little transitions, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's see. So she said that when he's from all of that you've read, when he said that he wanted to have a freak off, she knew she didn't have any choice. Uh, her safety depended on keeping him happy. The relationship was complicated. Both were unfaithful, but only one of them had power. This is what the prosecution's saying, because again, Diddy's late hour defense on Friday was the fact that he was going to concede to the DV, but he said that both of them were beating up each other. Let's see. It says here he made her do his bidding in those quote dark hotel rooms. She was not the only one. This was a pattern. And now they talk about Jane Doe. She was a single mom that started spending time with him in 2020. She fell in love with him. He was seeing other women. One night he told Jane about freak offs and made it happen immediately. He took her to a hotel where an escort was on the way. He directed her step by step. Jane thought it was a one-time event. She was sorely mistaken. He continued, offering a real relationship. Jane wanted the escorts to wear protection. The defendant said no. Jane tried to make it through these nights sober, but could not. So she was using drugs, would make her sick. She would vomit, but they would still continue. Ugh, brother. Ugh. And so also, I think I remember seeing in Cassie's lawsuit was the fact that they would go for so long, and they would be so dehydrated and depleted that they would have to get IVs so that they can at least function to get back to wherever it was that they were supposed to go to. And so she's saying here that not even a year ago, wait a minute, hold up. It had gotten to the point that Jane found two men and invited them to join the freak off so she can choose the man she'd be intimate with. The defendant discouraged her from working. He had the power to coerce her back into the hotel rooms. He threatened her with the videos. So he was using the videos that he made of them participating in this thing because, again, society says these types of things, if you are a willing participant, is shameful. So can you imagine if you are willing at one point and then you get coerced to continue to do it because they were going to throw these videos out to shame you, threatening this, because I think they call that revenge porn, if I'm not mistaken. They say that he didn't let Jane be. He says, "You're not going to F up my night." He would call up an escort and perform. Jane followed his instructions. His violence got him what he wanted. Cassie will tell you about the time the defendant forced himself on her. You've got Mia, who's an employee, will tell you how the defendant forced himself, that Diddy Combs forced himself on her. And then they talk about the tape and how his level of influence, power, and coercion in regards to the video, the now infamous videotape that we saw of him in the hallway with Cassie. It says here, the defendant offered a hotel security guard a wad of cash, a brown paper bag with $100,000 in $100 bills. The inner circle kept Cassie in hiding for days. For all this, he is charged with multiple federal crimes, racketeering, and conspiracy. They say that Cassie and Jane will tell you the most painful experiences of their life. You will hear from some of the defendant's employees, including his personal assistant, Mia, who he sexually assaulted. She is grappling with it. You will hear from the employees that he forced into an SUV with a gun and from a chef. They worked punishing hours, at times without sleep. They bought drugs for him. They were expected to keep quiet. Some of these witnesses had already received settlements. So they so you don't pay these people. But again, you signing NDAs and you paying people all this stuff is not that you're going to be able to keep them quiet in a criminal case, because if it's criminal, they're going to have to in their subpoena, they're going to have to present themselves in a court of law. But let's continue. And y'all make sure y'all are hitting this like button. You're going to hear from prosecution continued. They talked about you're going to hear from some of the escorts. You're going to see text messages. You're going to hear from the experts about the freak offs and what they were asked to do and how they were propositioned to attend these, to work these functions. We're going to see text messages, which the defendant tells staff to bring cash for escorts, and by Jane saying she did not want to do the freak offs. You will see videos in them. You can hear the defendant providing direction to Cassie and Jane, high on ecstasy. So they're going to be showing uh they're going to be showing the videos. You will see a video of the defendant brutally beating Cassie during a freak off at a LA hotel. You will see photos of the damage, including to the 4 doors in Jane's home, not even a year ago. You will see what he had in his home: guns, med bags of drugs, lube. You will see the agreement with the hotel guard, barring him from speaking after he paid the $100,000. You will hear him manipulate Jane into saying she wanted it, his threats not to pay for her home, text to his staff about it. So the prosecution is asking the jury to do 3 things: pay attention to the evidence, follow the judge's instruction on the law, and use your common sense, and you'll reach the verdict that Sean Combs is guilty. What are y'all thinking so far? Because this is what the prosecution has now. Remember, they're working with one witness less, and I don't know who this witness is. I don't know who this witness is. Yeah, because they did say that all of the women, most of them, were exes. So this is telling me that these are ex-girlfriends of this of Sean Combs. We're gonna see, but we're gonna go in for the defense. Hey, Tashido, this whole situation is just twisted. Well, I will tell you this. Let me. I don't think they turn into this. I think they are already there, and they use these things to get them the things they need in business. And I hope I'm making sense, because they just don't. It's not in my opinion, it's not that they just turn out to be this. They already have that inside them. They're already. And but if there are no checks and balances on this behavior, it continues to go. You're talking about a man who not only he has the social cachet, he has the notoriety, and he has the money. And these 3 things, coupled with his ability to, and I say this word because people who have the ability to manipulate, we all have the ability to manipulate. There's just some people that are better at it than others, but who have the ability to manipulate and then and then from the things that he does to coerce you to do something, to have consequences on the other side of that. This is how you have it. So you have someone who has positioned himself. Now you think about it, because when we talk about these parties, when we talk about all these little different things, here in the public, we're like, oh my God, every celebrity that we know went to these parties, therefore they were at the freak offs. No, they were at the parties. And I won't tell you that, like I said, some of these names, I can't tell you if they were at the freak offs or not. But we do know that a lot of these people, and let's just be real, back in the late 90s and the 2000s going into 2010s, Diddy's white parties, Diddy's holiday parties, Diddy's after parties from award shows or concerts or whatever what's going on, they were the places to be. So you had a lot of celebrities, 8 to 80 dumb, cripple, and crazy, that were at these parties, because again, that was an opportunity to network, because not only did he have the celebrities, he had the people in the business side in the know. So you would have had music executives at these parties. You would have had writers and producers and things like that at these parties. Anybody that was interested in any business, because Diddy was into clothing, alcohol, management, all kinds of different businesses that he had going on. So he had the ability, probably have a huge networking circle So if you were somebody in Hollywood and you were in the know, you were in Hollywood and you wanted to be able to parlay with somebody or get with somebody in the know, a Diddy party was where you would go. Now, as I've said before, those that made it to the party may not have made it to the after party. And those that made it to the after party may not have made it to the hotel lobby. And those that made it to the hotel lobby may not have made it to the hotel room to be able to do the freak offs. It seems from what we're seeing, from what the prosecution is putting forth, is that you had to be in some sort of relationship with him, and then that relationship was manipulated for you to do those freak offs. So it doesn't sound like, unless, like I said, we will know better when they start calling people to the stand. Now, the people who interesting to me calling to the stand would be people like, because we know that we know Cuba Gooding Jr. uh was alleged to be at these little parties and things like that. And you know, Cuba Gooding Jr. had a weird case. Why is he around? So we knew that there are some pensions for that. We know that we have seen video of Meek Mill partying with Diddy. We've seen video of French Montana and Chris Brown and all these people partying with Diddy, particularly on these yacht trips and things like that. We've seen videos and they've said that there's been some stuff going on there. So we've seen these things. Now we can't connect. It's going to be the prosecution's job to connect the dots. We can just pretty much say that we know what's going on, but we don't know really, really, truly what's going on. There is rumors that Diddy had some connection with Epstein. I don't know none of all that stuff. I know that there's rumors for it, but again, this is what the prosecution is working on. So it sounds like they're going to call Cassie. They're going to call this former employee named Mia, and we're going to see her from Jane Doe. Sounds like there's going to be video shown of these freak offs and how it worked out. They're going to call the escorts involved so that they can give us a rundown on how these freak offs went. We're going to hear from some employees about how they staff, they did the hotels and worked the whole process of these freak offs, and how Diddy was the one orchestrating all of these little different steps of the freak off. So we're supposed to hear all of this going into this. All right, so we've lost you. Oh Lord. So let's get into, so the defense has gone. I tried to do all of that to give the defense an opportunity to, that we can get the information from the defense. So it looks like Terry Garagos. So Garagos is for the defense. And as I had read before, and let me just finish. Terry Garagos' case is about, so this is defense going over their stuff. It says this case is about love and jealousy and money. They are trying to turn it into a racketeering case. It will not work. You are the jury. You will evaluate the witnesses, and finally, the story can come out. This case isn't about what you heard on the news. So they start giving some background information on Diddy. So he grew up in Harlem, built a lawful business. He created a culture and produced music that changed a generation. Witnesses will share with you that he is a fascinating person and people are drawn to him. If you wanted to climb in music, apparel, or beverages, you wanted to be around Sean Combs. Again, I said that earlier. He was the person that that you knew that could do that, because he always kept relationships with all of these people. I bet you now these people are trying to distance themselves, but just, to be just fair and truthful, you know that he's had all these business opportunities. It says here, he gave people opportunities to work at his companies. He had a vision that few had. The witnesses mostly loved him. The text messages will show that. They talk about he's 55 years old. Terry Garrigo says that he's honored to represent him. The only people in the courtroom that tell you about racketeering are the prosecution. There is no conspiracy. They're saying that this case is about Sean Combs' private sex life. The government has no business in that. These hardworking individuals were educated from not Harvard to Howard, Harvard to Howard. He has a temper and got violent. He is not proud of that. They own it. He sometimes gets so jealous or angry that he's out of control. You will hear that he lied to his girlfriends. You may think he's a jerk or mean, but he's not tried for that. He's tried for running a racketeering enterprise. They're saying that this is domestic violence. Domestic violence is not so their basic defense is, yeah, he whooping they behinds, but he's not trafficking anybody. It is not funny, ha ha. It's funny like damn. He says had he been charged with domestic violence, we would not be sitting through an 8-week trial. He's not guilty of these crimes. As the trial goes on, we're going to take on accountability. We will not shy away. He's Sean Combs has a bit of a different sex life. The alleged victims were all getting something from him. They're adults. They too must take on responsibility for their lives, as he does for his. A free choice has pros and cons. He's saying you're going to evaluate these women. They made free choices every day for years. He wants you to ask yourself, what are all these ways these individuals had the ability to make these choices? Ask, what is this person getting? Something they want, maybe different. They're saying that jealousy drove the choices of the victims. Combs never married, but he is a woman's man, a many woman man. So, in other words, he has to have a lot of women. He's always in multiple relationships because he was in a relationship with Kim Porter, and he was going with Cassie at the same time. He was not always honest. It drove a primal jealousy. Sean Combs is extremely jealous. You might think it's hypocritical that they remained in multi-year relationships with him. We're going to hear about swinging parties. They will testify about things that shouldn't be heard in a federal courtroom. You may not, they're gonna have to watch videos, they're gonna have to hear stuff, but you're not here to judge him for his sexual preferences. Let me read that again. You will hear about swinger parties. They will testify about things that should never be heard in a federal courtroom that he liked to watch. You may not like that, but you're not here to judge him for his sexual preferences. What are we going to see? Well, not me, because I that's too far for me to be going to be nosy. Because when I hear sexual preferences, I think about the terms of, heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, all of those things. When I talk about sexual predilections, I'm talking about, you know, bringing whips and change and BDSM and all those types of things into thing, foot play, toe, stuff like that. I think about those types of things. So I'm curious to see what they're going to be talking about. Says here, he's a wealthy rapper. He paid for these women's homes and vacations. He is not being charged with a flawed individual. These women fought to be in a relationship with him. Cassie, I expect you will hear from her this week about her 11-year relationship. They're going to talk about Kim Porter, his fights with Cassie. Cassie will tell you about her jealousy of Kim Porter, then Gina, the day of the hotel hallway. The video is not evidence of sex trafficking. Cassie walked out of the hotel room with 2 bags. They're gonna go over what their version of is what happened at that hotel room. Again, they're saying that it was about domestic violence. They're saying Combs said that Kim Porter was his soulmate. The end of the relationship between Combs and Cassie was triggered by that. Cassie realized all the things she would not be. She wanted to be Combs' wife, the love of his life. She spent 11 years trying to get that. Y'all, this is about to be a lesson. If we just look at life lessons, this is interesting that this is put in there. Now, this is outside the scope of this, but these are life lessons that you have to understand. That for whatever reason, there are some people that will be with somebody and they're not interested in taking anything to the next level. They like things to be status quo. And then there's some of you all that will sit in these relationships thinking that things are going to go to the next level, and they're not, because you're not wanting to have honest conversations with that person and then have honest conversations with yourself. The terminology that my generation has used in regards to that is there are a lot of us women who'd rather have a piece of man than no man at all. And like I said, that this statement triggered that for me, just to think about that there's a lot of people that are in relationships, situationships, I guess that's what y'all call it, longer than what they need to be. And because society says to women that your worth is based on your proximity to a guy, there are a lot of women that stay in relationships that they should have just moved on from. But then they're shamed to, oh, well, if you don't have a guy, you're going to die alone. But those are words that now you realize affect more men than they do affect women. But I'm just saying, this is very interesting to see that they would use this terminology, because this is stuff that's out here in social media that you hear these people in these echo chambers are going back and forth with about gender wars and all this other stuff. And I'll tell y'all quick, y'all stay out of it. Stay out of it. Go outside, touch grass, go outside, look in the real world. People are not as extreme as people on social media try to make them out to be. Are there some bad apples? Of course. Both sides, male, female, bad apples. But mostly you'll run into decent people. People have flaws. That it's up to you to figure out if those flaws don't, as long as those flaws don't meet your non-negotiables, and that you all are in constant communication about where these relationships are going. If you're a woman and you want to be married, and then you're with this guy that tells you, oh, well, let us do this. I'm trying to get to this. I'm trying to do this. And there is nothing on the table after a few years. Y'all need to move on because he's comfortable, but you're not. There's something you want something different, and then it's okay to want that and then go find that from somebody else. Let's see. Uh, uh, uh. They talk about after she left him, she got married to the trainer, and she's been married to the trainer for a good number of years, and they're on their third child. They're saying that she was a willing participant in this, and that Cassie's testimony won't change that. They talk about Jane in 2020. They said that he was more than upfront with her. He told her he was dating other women. She was jealous. She wanted it to be public. She wanted their relationship to be public. He proposed a consensual threesome. They went to the private hotel. She enjoyed it. There, Garagos goes on to say Jane was desperate to be with him, to give him things others couldn't. She tried to make it more than sexual, and I'm not sure how she'll put it, but it always came back to the parties in the hotel rooms. So it seems like they're saying that the best part of their relationship was the hotel drama. Mm. He's saying that being a willing participant in a not usual sexual life does not make it sex trafficking. They're saying that she was a willing participant because of the fact that if she didn't, she thought she was going to lose him and she didn't want her to lose him. They're going to talk about her jealousy. And they're going to talk about stuff that I guess she did on social media when she saw him with another woman. They're talking about how Jane Doe hit him and then he responded. They talk about she slammed his head onto the kitchen counter. She flew to see him months later. And then the hotel drama is what I'm going to call all this. The freak offs, the hotel dramas started again. They talk about the government talked to you about someone named Mia. Why are they making these allegations now? You will conclude that everyone has a motive. With Mia, she never said it before, nor when she first started cooperating with the government. If this was so hostile, why did they not call the police? They're pulling that motive. They're pulling that. They are vindictive. Their motive is simple money. He talks about Cassie's lawsuit. She was living in her parents' modest home in Connecticut. She went to a civil lawyer. The civil lawyer is here today. They went to civil lawyers to make money grab. She demanded 30 million. Another asked for 22 million. How many millions of reasons do these witnesses have to lie? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5. That's what they're saying. Now they're talking about what happened with the Intercontinental, the bribery. On bribery, this is about the Intercontinental Hotel. He paid a security guard to make the footage go away. This is solely to prevent bad publicity for the Combs and for Cassie. There was no law enforcement investigation. This is interesting. And y'all, if there's any attorneys out there, y'all let me know. So, in other words, there is at least criminal evidence of assault. And so they went and paid somebody so that they could keep this criminal evidence of assault out from being out in the public. And then they turn around and say, well, there is no law enforcement investigation. He paid for it to go away. And you're saying it was solely to prevent bad publicity for Combs and for Cassie. I don't know how that is going to fly, y'all. I don't know how that's going to fly because isn't that the whole point of bribery? The kidnapping related to an employee. She worked for him for 10 years. She asked to work for him again. Drug trafficking, it was for personal use. They worked hard. They were there to do something great and noble. It was a free choice. So as far as the conspiracy, there was no conspiracy. He was paying different men for their time and their experience. Porn actors get paid. Hulkamania, cowboys for angels. You can pay money for time and experience. That is what Sean Combs was doing. You're not here to impose your morality on this man. If you listen, you will find out him not guilty of these crimes. Thank you. So they took a break for lunch, and the jury is out, and Brian Steele is objecting to two exhibits. So they're objecting to things right now. Lord. So they're breaking for lunch, and then I guess we'll come back and they'll be talking about they'll be calling their first witness. They are desperately trying to change the narrative. Ella, that's what they're paid for as a defense attorney. I guess they're trying to play the Hugh Hefner angle with his play. I mean, they're like, and I guess I'm confused. My question is, how is all this going to fly? Because you're saying that, oh, well, I didn't commit this crime, but I committed this crime. I committed a crime of assault, domestic, because, and I'm going to be using the word assault and domestic violence interchangeably, but I committed these crimes, but that doesn't match up to these crimes. And I didn't pay these people for sex. I paid them for their time and their expertise because they're porn actors and all these other things. But what is the job of a porn actor? Or is that why there was a publication? So he's saying that they were doing porn videos. Interesting. Interesting. All right. So we've gone through the opening statements, and they're at lunch right now, and then we'll come back later. So I'll come back come back after at least a good couple of a witness or two has gone through, so we could go through those witnesses and talk about those things, and then go through the end of the day of the trial. But like I said, I want to try to break this up because this is a mess. I really, we need to petition y'all to see if we can get the law changed where at the least we can get the audio. We could at least get the audio. We don't necessarily have to see anything, but like the Supreme Court, we need at least to get the audio. We need to at least hear what's going on. And again, but shout out again to Inner City Press on and also shout out to the New York Times, because this is the information that we're pulling from, and also I was pulling from Cassie's lawsuit in regards to this. Y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to take a break myself. I'm gonna go get me something to eat, and then I'm going to come back back on the live, and it's still going to be day 6. I'm gonna probably combine these two things. So well, let me see. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to keep the stream going, and I'm not here and I'm not saying anything. So y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. I went over opening statement, and we will go over whatever witness. We'll start that in probably about 30 to 40 minutes. So I'll see y'all then.